So here's the example of this look-ahead content understanding. So this was a system that we developed to assist people in searching through videos to find relevant and interesting topics. So you could do a search and it would show a timeline of the video that had the concept you were searching for. In this case, I think it was neuron. It was maybe neuroscience. I think it was neuroscience was the topic, the search key. So this system was able to identify the sort of 5 leading topics covered in each section of the video. In this section that's highlighted here, this is the second section of the video. The highlighted, the most sort of important topic is neuron, second brain, third synapse, fourth dendrite, and fifth neuroscience. So neuroscience is 5th. That's why this is a rather light colored section, but it is slightly yellow, indicating the topic of search topic was mentioned in this section of the video, or was covered in this section of the video. Here, these 2 sections, the color is far brighter, which indicates that this topic, neuroscience, is higher in the list. But by holding your mouse on this sort of timeline of the video, you can get a picture of what is covered in each section of the video as you move through the timeline of the video. So it gives you a kind of narrative story of the content of the video. And there were 4 sort of ways this could be presented, but that's not quite so crucial. You know, the way the summary was presented, either in the thumbnail or the topic names. Each of these topics relates to a Wikipedia page, and this was actually a readout of the summary of the Wikipedia page. So this is a way of annotating videos and displaying to users the way a kind of overview of the content of the video. And we wanted to understand whether this was useful or not. So we had a user study in which we asked them to perform certain tasks. In one setting, they were given this, we call it the search bar, and in the other, they were just given a normal interface. And they were asked at the end whether they were able to perform the task more effectively with the bar present. So the question was, does such enrichment allow learners to engage with search results in order to find the relevant materials relevant to their information needs? And these were the questions that they were asked. So and they had to reply with the usual kind of strongly agree to strongly disagree. The enhanced video player is intuitive to use, and they were clearly very strongly in favor that it was. The enhanced video made finding video clips easier. Again, I found information seeking with the content flow bar difficult. This was very negatively answered, and providing definitions for topics was useful. So you can see that by actually getting users into a room, getting them using the system in a controlled way, we were able to actually extract useful information about the impact, subjective impact, the way they experience this particular facility in the control bar. So that's just the first, and shows the power of a user study. Of course, a user study is quite time-consuming, requires the identification of users. There's always the question, are they representative enough? Have you done a random enough selection of the users? And typically that's very difficult to do, etc. So there's all sorts of problems with that approach, but it is a way of really measuring performance. So here was the second example, which is analysis of engagement. And here, what we're trying to do is to predict whether a user will view one of these sections of the video. So each of these rows here represents a video that's being shown, and these are the sections of the video. And we have tracked the user watching these sections, and we're trying to predict, will they view the next section to the end, basically? Or will they switch off or move away? So can we predict if a learner will view the fragment of the video being offered? And we have information about the topics covered in that section of the video, of course, we maybe have some model of the learner, their interests, their skills, etc. I'll talk about that. But the basic measurement we're trying to make is, will they engage, what we're calling engage, with this section of the video? We first looked at this as a sort of user-independent question. So is a particular video very engaging or not, on average? And we tried to measure that against various properties of the video, the density of the language, the complexity of the language, the sort of other information about the video, the author, etc. And we were actually able to make reasonably good predictions with that information of the average likelihood that a user would engage with that video. However, interestingly, it didn't align with star ratings. There was a very small correlation with star ratings, or with the number of views, and there was a negative correlation with the number of views. So this engagement measure was actually didn't seem to align with other more traditional ways of measuring quality. So we therefore moved to a more complex model of trying to model the user, their, as I said, current knowledge or skills and interests, and the resource, the features and the topic coverage of the resource, and use that as a prediction of engagement. So through this sort of graphical model, and this was the simplified initial version, which just looked at the resource and its content and the learner and their skills. We then enhanced it by including interests in the learners as a separate set of skills. Now, the skills are represented by, again, a kind of score for each Wikipedia page that the user has engaged with. And obviously here, as I showed before, it's kind of highlighting the Wikipedia topics that are covered in certain sections of the video. So this was able to actually make a prediction at 80% of the events correctly, both negative and positive. This was a F1 score, so with the kind of average of both predicting when they did engage and predicting when they didn't engage. It also retains a humanly intuitive learning representation in terms of communication with the user. So this human-centric point I was making before, it was tested on a data set of 3,000 lectures and approximately 19,000 users. And these were the kind of F1 sort of development as we see more examples of interactions for individual users. So this is an average over users of their interactions. This is starting at the beginning, 10 interactions, 20, etc. The top score line is where we incorporate both interest and skills. The middle line is where we just measure the skills, and the bottom line is where we just measure interest. I won't go into the details of how we measure those. But again, this, I think, provides evidence that we are able to model users in a way that we can predict their engagement with a resource, and therefore potentially we are able, I mean, essentially at the back of this, we are modeling their learning in terms of their skill evolution as they view these different resources, and therefore, based on that, make predictions about their engagement with future resources. So here's some of the publications that have come out of that. So in conclusion, I think LLMs are clearly a powerful tool that can enhance education and should also inform our approach to learning. Sorry, the human-centric AI, I was saying there, provides a framework for ensuring AI enhances human experience and creativity. Automated educational systems should be driven, I believe, by human-centric AI, and this is very important that we guard against these treating humans as objects and trying to force them to adhere to certain, maybe rote learning, whatever. We need to think about what it is that we are trying to instill in users, and LLMs are making that more focused perhaps than it was before. But equally, I think it's fair to say that human-centric AI systems should be educational by design. so that they afford with insight and creativity in their users, whether they're learners or teachers. And measuring progress in educational provision is extraordinarily tricky. And I've provided two examples that I illustrate, two approaches that I think have made some progress, but I think there's a lot more that needs to be done in this area. Thank you very much for your attention.
Professor John, for your very excellent sharing. 再次感谢这个Professor John Shawe-Taylor 给我们带来的